That's probably why I didn't have any discussion.
It's strange that Mediterranean food made in Canada.
Accessible
consumed
space.
somewhere.
That's very
Local comments.
Just go down my chest.
See, they both would be.
Somebody.
Ooh. Is that why we watch soccer now? Like NASCAR, you just want to see. Yeah. Oh, he kicked it, his leg's still there.
I was thinking about 25, I didn't hear that. He like shattered.
Yes, that's right.
But just like, there's a thing where he's like, you know, when I was younger, I could just feel like skate all day and then I'm gonna do some like cool trick at the end of the day and he tried to do that to like impress some friends. He's like, I knew I should have done.
Like, I have 40
Cause I'm
years.
like, yeah, like everything's tidy and he just. It's old right now. So.
I do the symbols that I could when I was just.
Yeah, that's me.
Pandemic meeting.
That's a fair joke.
Yes, hurts. Patience.
Guy gets an accident, Doctor. And I play the piano anymore. Where she
It's a trying.
like it before. Her love it.
Of course.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah, I know, it's like,
Submit ideas on how to.
Daughter's wedding day.
Yeah, one guy put in 6 different AIs. And
Wait, this is
you gotta go to your doctor.
You.
we do it.
That's pretty important.
No, so here for the waiting. And all of them change like the architecture of all
40
But like
years
a
old and the first time.
current only thing. Well, that's not so bad.
Oh,
Most of them are just like different lighting, which was not the question at all. One of them put up a sign, they called it the Providence Building, the one called it the Oregon Hotel. The other one called it it just said it's located in the state park, which.
let's say.
Levels, so. But none of those look like they came in, it just looked like they did it. So I'm very offended.
There was I don't know, in our office. And there was one guy that has it printed out on his desk. He's gonna take it over.
Well, it's just good.
Oh,
Good.
that's so
So far, it's the actual spot. But you know what, that's a part of our history.
It's like,
Yeah, so Travis has should over it. And to start the clock ticking on the new periods.
yeah, I like this.
It's interesting, I've never noticed this word. Thing out there. And it's kind of interesting because like
You could do, you don't have to fill
it
it out.
crosses boundaries.
I'm glad she found something nice.
Everyone has their sort of. role they kind of-
Like I have the most dedication of all.
It's his birthday
It's
today.
Birthday. You don't even
I
like.
skipped to go to Legoland. Besides that, it's my birthday.
Well, happy birthday. That's great.
We're gonna sing later.
We're gonna sing on the record.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that song. Script once in, show let them in.
Did you wear that to the site today?
Yeah, totally. I wanna say that I'm very happy to report that building 14 has a shower. Building, like my lab is.
Oh, nice. Is that a new addition?
No, it's always been there. Yeah. That's nice.
They have hot water.
Uh-huh. I was a little worried.
Yeah. It's clear water.
Yeah. Yes. actually quite low. Yes.
Just to clarify, since we are having, so for the record's already open, we don't need to reopen the hearing, we can just go straight to comments.
Correct. What? Yes, it's already open.
Okay, yeah, I don't need to do anything new, we'll just go to the open public hearing, and then we'll start with the staff presentation.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Did I put it? But I gotta make sure I did not leave it. Oh, that was it.
Right.
So she has a flash drive.
So should she going first?
No, no,
or
no.
second? Yeah,
So we'll do my thing and
and then just close it out, figure it out in person and then same process.
sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to.
Well, I'm here too, thank you. Oh,
You wanna email it to?
Oh, yeah, I actually get them from Magic Compass, like, you.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's like.
That's like actually, you're from studying for the.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, I. You know, still.
What?
No, it's not something you should. So send it again.
Ready to go, Michelle?
yes.
We're live.
Well, next situation.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
I think, I'm sorry.
So we're not ready to go yet.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, great.
Give me 1 minute. So. And we're gonna go to record.
Okay, perfect. Now we're good? Okay, great. All right, I'm gonna call to order the June 18th, 2026 meeting of the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission. Could the reporter please take roll call?
Commissioner Kurtman.
Here.
Commissioner Inman.
Here.
Commissioner Kaiser, absent excused. Commissioner Olin.
Here.
Commissioner Strauss.
Here.
Commissioner Strong, absent excused. Commissioner Weathers,
Here.
Commissioner Cornetti.
Here.
Perfect, we have quorum. Is there anyone here who'd like to give a comment on something that is not already on the agenda? I see we got a couple of people on the agenda. Okay, great. So there's nobody here for public comments, so we'll go ahead and move to approval of the minutes. Could I have a motion for the minutes?
Approval of the consent calendar.
All right, do I have a second? Second. All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Inman and second from Commissioner Kurtman to approve the minutes. Are there any comments before we vote? Okay, great. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Next, we'll move on to our public hearing. This is the continuation of case HIS 2605 for 625 Church Street Southeast. The record is already open, so we'll not gonna reopen things, and we'll move right to staff. Well, actually, we should confirm all of the commissioners have read and or watched all of the items up to this. Okay, great. Are there any additional ex parte or conflicts of interest?
That way?
Okay, great. Then we're go ahead to move to
Is that the
the
right
staff presentation.
Oh, no. Sign in. Sorry, everyone.
Do sign in, see what it does. Is it got like a, is it asking for your?
Is it me? I didn't sign in, but I can. It might need your sign.
No, it's yours to access your.
Um, Sorry, everyone.
It's some of our asked us for this before. So.
Too smart for it, sounds good.
Probably updated computer.
And I got a new laptop, so I don't know.
Ooh, now we can see.
Loving it. Okay.
Or,
No, I can't. No,
No.
this one only. Heavens to Murgatroyd.
you know,
Wah, wah, wah.
Is that
Yeah.
also one tunes? Because no one ever said that little guy.
yeah,
I say that.
Right,
hit
but it's
PowerPoint
only-
down at the bottom.
Oh,
there.
sorry.
Hit PowerPoint,
This one?
Yeah.
Is it happy now? Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Make it not do that. Cancel. Can I hit cancel?
Yeah.
Or will it make it all go away?
No.
Press cancel.
16.
What's it say?
Yes, yeah, no, or what's that? Yes.
You guys,
Emphasis on the hit.
Oh, what's that one?
I don't know. There was an internal failure.
Are you trying to share from Zoom?
Yeah.
Cause it looks
Well,
like.
it's, no, it's just a flash drive, it's a flash drive.
Go ahead and try it now.
Yeah, what happens when you click from Zoom?
Okay, it's technically you're signed in now. I see.
So I think, are we just gonna do it
Hit share, yeah. Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
Will it fail?
Well, no, not share, click, cause you're trying to share it from Zoom, right?
No, it's just, it's
It's
a flash
pretty, I can
drive.
show one copy.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This should probably is like an email button.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, so you want to
I
Zoom and then share screen.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you, everyone.
didn't understand that.
This one. Okay,
Okay.
and where's the menu? Oh, there.
There it is.
Beautiful. Thank
Oh, sorry,
you.
Kimberly. I told you.
It
that.
isn't, sharing is not turned on.
Send request,
So is that to you?
So,
Now we can go.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone. This is,
There we go.
This
Sorry,
takes the
guys.
village.
Okay.
Okay, is that the
Did it.
thing? I'm blind. Thank you.
Yep. That's
Oh,
okay.
my good night nurse. Okay, you're gonna hear all my sayings. Good night nurse.
they should
Good
make-
job.
Good job, everyone. And I don't want it to do that. If I do that, will it wreck everything? Yay! And I don't like that menu. Just want it, how do I minimize? Sorry, you guys. There. And okay. Hi, everyone. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna minimize that as well. Nice to see you. Does this work? Do we know? No?
No, you don't have to, it's picking it
Okay.
up on that.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Fitzgerald. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Salem. And I'd like to enter the supplemental staff report, its attachments, and all public testimony into the record. And I want to go forward. Thank you. So I'm going to go through some of this stuff, even though you've heard it before, but it's been a while, so I want to kind of refresh your memory. So the location is in the Gady Hill Bushes Pasture Park National Register Historic District. And this house is contributing. It is located at 625 Church Street Southeast. And I'm gonna say a few things about the background here, just for the record. So the public hearing, well, let me back up. So the actual application for this house was originally submitted back in March. And the first public hearing was initially opened on April 16th, 2026. And oral testimony was provided by the applicants, Lisa, who's here, as well as Brian Judd and Evan West, who's also here. And after a request by SCAN to hold the record open for additional testimony, the Landmarks Commission continued the public hearing until May 21st. And then after another request from the applicant to have additional time to revise the proposal to better address the concerns by the Landmarks Commission and the neighborhood, the hearing was continued to today. And I do want to also note for the record that Historic Preservation staff sent out an additional public notice on May 29th for this case to correct an error identified by the Neighborhood Association where the specific applicable criteria were not noted in the initial notice. And the site was also reposted per our code requirements. So this is this is all a refresher, I hope. So this is a picture of the house from 1978. So this house was built circa 1920. And it's identified as a bungalow. And as you, I don't know if you remember, it has kind of an interesting history due to the location of it near the creek. And it was originally set on a low foundation. And of course, you can still see that the projecting bay on the front, which is continued to be the most character defining feature on the house. You can also see the large French doors on both sides, which also are still, you can see those on the house as well. Here's a 2004 image of the house, as well as the Sanborn fire insurance map. So in 2004, that's when we have the first record submitted. It was HIS 0409 to the Landmarks Commission with a request to raise the foundation because of the flooding that was occurring, because it's really located quite close to the creek and in the floodplain. So you can see, you can still see the right, on the right side of the image there, those inward swinging French doors. And at that time, there was no balcony in place. That was added later. So I'm also including some pictures, this is from Street View. So you can kind of get a sense of what it looks like, how close it is to the creek, and then also how it's kind of shielded from view from the street. And so this is the initial proposal that you maybe remember from April 2026. So the porch, that 4 foot in depth by 13 feet in length, again, that was those porches, the existing porches are not historic, they were added later. And the proposal was to extend the porch deck by 8 feet. So it would have projected a total of 12 feet. That was the original plan view. And so this is the revised proposal. So as you can see, the design has been changed to mirror the angled design of the projecting entry bay, and the size of the extension has been reduced by 4 feet. And this is, the applicant did a nice job doing a mock-up of what it would look like. So you can see, this is the revised proposal. So I'm going to go through now not all the criteria, but the applicable criteria here in Salem Revised Code 230065, and I'm taking some of them together. So criteria, these are guidelines A and C. So for both of these, the first one is regarding the use, but also it applies to a use that is for a similar purpose that does not alter the street access, landscape design, entrances, height, footprint, fenestration, and massing. And as you know, so the use isn't changing. However, they are wanting to increase the use of the front porch of their home because the current condition, it's not usable. And that's the reason for wanting to extend it and make it bigger. And it will change the front facade. However, the reduced size of the porch extension, as well as the revised design to mirror that projecting front entry bay, does reduce any adverse effects from this enlargement of the front porch footprint. And also, I do want to note for guideline C, any distinctive stylistic features and examples of skilled craftsmanship. So as I mentioned before, the porch that is existing there is not from the historic period. And so no historic materials are going to be adversely affected by this extension, and the change in the design in particular to mirror that character defining feature does better meet this guideline. So staff does recommend the Landmarks Commission find that these two guidelines have been met for the proposal. And now jumping to guidelines F and G, which are related to additions and alterations. And as I mentioned before, the existing porch is not original to the historic structure and it is in poor condition. The applicant has revised the proposal to reduce the scale and change the design to better mirror the character defining projecting front entry. And so therefore, staff recommends that the Landmarks Commission find that these two criteria have been met. There are still conditions that our staff are recommending. We've not received any additional comments since the ones that were submitted by SCAN for the May Landmarks Commission meeting, which were addressed in that supplemental staff report. So based upon the information presented in the application and the plan submitted for review, the staff recommends that the Landmarks Commission approve the revised proposal with the following conditions of approval, which were the ones originally submitted. Condition 1 relating to painting the entire porch, and condition 2 constructing the porch balustrade to match the existing. That concludes the staff report.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for staff? I have just one kind of clarification question on the structure, the two doorway openings on the side, they've always been doorway openings, is that correct?
The French doors.
They've always been doors.
Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah, but you can clarify with the applicant when she comes up.
Okay, great.
And I think she has a presentation. I know she does. So you have to bear with me. I'm gonna close out.
Down at the bottom.
Do I stop sharing
Down at the bottom, yeah.
that one? Cool. We'll get this. We'll get this.
Great.
And should I close my presentation or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do I do that? Oh, did I wreck everything?
Nope.
Did I wreck it?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, and then now
Go ahead and have the applicant's presentation.
bear with us. I'm gonna load her.
Okay, perfect.
That's a quick question.
Of course.
My wife has called me 3 times. Is there a chance I can just? She
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
miss me. I just don't want to.
Oh, I'm so worried. Yeah, no, go. Yeah.
And it's just the folder down at the bottom.
It's right
Oh,
there.
yeah, it's right there.
I think so.
Yep.
And
yep.
then, okay, wait, don't leave.
And then the Zoom.
The Zoom. And then,
Then
oh
right
yeah,
there.
just like before. Wait. Here. And why is, okay, it'll go away. Will it go away? Why is it doing? Will it go away?
Is this yours?
Yay. Great. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, thank you. And your name and address. Great.
And we'll just wait for Commissioner Ogling to get back.
Oh. Let me go check. I don't know if you can.
I feel like, because it's a PDF, I feel like it's zoomed
Is
in
it,
too much.
Up there. at the Is it-
Yeah, if you did
this-
the zoom lens minus or control minus is how I do it.
Oh, yeah, on the top. I see it. You can do it. I think you can do it.
Lisa.
Uh-huh. Oh, I didn't realize I can control things. Okay.
Yeah, just.
You're in charge.
Oh,
And you'll be moving
Great.
it forward.
Cool. Awesome. Thank
See?
you.
And then I think that, let's just practice because we're waiting for Robert. Oh,
Probably
oh yeah, you just
scroll
scroll.
down. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, cool.
so we're gonna wait a minute,
Okay.
see if Robert comes back.
All right,
Oh,
thank you. Cool.
We say yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh,
We saw.
okay. Okay then, just for the record, Commissioner Olween's gotta leave, but we still have quorum, so we're good to proceed. Go ahead. Thank you. And
Great.
just state your name and your address for the record.
Okay, cool. My name is Lisa Taylor. I am the owner at 625 Church Street Southeast here in Salem. And I just have a kind of short presentation. It's very similar to what the presentation was by Billy, so. So again, this is our current house. As you can see, it's raised. It is in the FEMA floodplain, and so I assume that's why it was raised. I think back in the 90s, it got pretty hit pretty hard by that flood. And just a refresher on why we're replacing the porch. Not only are they 4 feet deep, which is a pretty unusable space for a porch, you could maybe get a chair, a person out there, but they're also pretty dry rotted, both the stairs and the side porches. So we don't use them at all right now because they're probably not safe to go out on. And so really our goals for the replacements are safety so that they aren't dry rotted. And then usability. So again, we have an actual outdoor space that we can use. And then of course, the aesthetic, you know, the reason we bought the house is because it was in the cute historic neighborhood and you like how it looks and everything. So we want to make sure that what we replace adds to the look of the house. So as you heard, this is a current layout, again, that 4 feet wide, and they're kind of parallel with the sides of the portico, like portico area, the sunroom. This, of course, isn't safe, not very usable, and they're not historic porches. So the aesthetics, it's not really like that's a historic artifact. The question about the French doors, all I know is from what the pictures show, and it looks like there's still doors, especially since it seems to have a handle on the outside. Do you think it's weird that there were just doors that led nowhere? But, you know, I guess that was the 70s. So this is our original proposal. It went, as you heard, it went all the way out 12 feet. This was really our main goal was usability here. You know, that provided ample room for a dining table, kind of having more of an outdoor dining space. This is an AI rendering, so please take it with a grain of salt, but that's kind of the idea of what it would look like with the straight across. And it would be supported by kind of pillars here, which would be wood. Picture kind of makes it look like they're cement, but they would be timber. And then we modified the proposal after hearing from the neighborhood association and then also comments that we got at the last meeting of this committee. And, you know, I very much heard the neighborhood association, like our goal isn't to just add a giant porch because we want something. Like our goal is to make it more functional, but also to fit in with the house. And again, I do really like the sun porch. Like that was the first thing you see about the house. So this new design kind of follows the same angles as the sun porch. And I think flows better, fits with the house a little bit better. It doesn't come as far out, which I know was a concern with the neighborhood association. And just generally, the goal here, these are about 4 feet wide, so it provides a lot of, you know, walking space and everything. And then from the door to the stairs is still about 5 feet or so. So the stairs themselves would start about where the original design had them, but where you really are getting a lot of space back is here with the 4 foot reduction. So I think that's about 100 square feet less than the original proposal. It also, this is the image. I think the footprint looks significantly smaller too from the street view, and does kind of highlight that porch, or the sunroom area. And then that final photo, that was just me putting in, plants. I really wanted to grow a giant rhodie. I know that will take 30 years, but when we go to sell in 30 years, somebody will really enjoy that rhodie. So, yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Here by me, the material, is it all wood?
Yeah. It's all gonna be wood, and part of their contract is to get a painter out as soon as it's done. So yeah, it's all gonna be wood, including the posts that hold it up. And those posts that are covered in flowers, those are about the position that the post will be. One will be on the other side of the far driveway cement thing, and then the other one will be right on that other side of the site.
Okay, great. I don't think we have any other questions, so feel free to take a seat. Thank you. Alrighty, next up is the Neighborhood Association. Evan, are you here for the neighborhood?
Yes.
Great, come on up.
Yep.
And if you could state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
I don't have a PowerPoint, so that's great. I don't know if this is active or not. Thank you, to the acting chair, I assume, members of the HLC. Once again, I am Evan West. I live in Ward 7, and I am the chair of the SCAN Neighborhood Association. I want to be very clear that today I'm here representing our Historic Preservation Parks and Gardens Committee. This committee is made up of some board members, many board members, some concerned citizens, preservation and planning professionals, legal experts, and others. The committee has asked me to convey to you the importance of following the language of the Salem Revised Code. That's what I'll be discussing primarily. With that being said, I do want to take a moment and convey my personal appreciation to the applicants for taking their time to revise the construction proposal in a way that I believe better aligns the new construction with the historic character of the residential building. On behalf of the committee, I've been asked to say that city staff have indicated that the application can proceed under SRC 230.065 in lieu of the requirements of SRC 230.025 as a rehabilitation project. The committee believes this is fundamentally incorrect, and it is the legal responsibility of the Historic Landmarks Commission to reject this error today. Salem Code defines rehabilitation as, quote, making possible a compatible use, unquote, which is supported by the Secretary of the Interior's standards for treatments of historic properties, which further dictate that, quote, rehabilitation allows alterations and the construction of new addition if necessary for a continuing or new use of the historic building, unquote. The staff report says, quote, it is the applicant's burden to demonstrate that the proposed alterations are necessary for the reasonable continued use of their property and further demonstrate that their proposal conforms to the guidelines, which include ensuring the character defining features of the contributing resource continue to be conveyed, unquote. The use of the building as a single family dwelling is not being changed nor made possible by the proposed addition of a front deck. The project as planned adds usability value to their property, not usable function, but usability value. City staff have essentially confirmed this, and although many of my colleagues are not here today, the preservation professionals on this commission know this. We believe the application should have been submitted under SRC 230.025. Unfortunately for the applicant, that section of code does not allow for the construction of new decks in the historic district on contributing residential buildings. But this is the code. It exists for a reason. We had an objection about a failure to identify the character defining features, but Kimberly did address some of the key character defining features on the building today, so I can take that part out. The committee asked me to convey that they view their job as concerned citizens as providing the clarity to the commission that we believe the application was improperly submitted, and it is the commission's job to ensure that the application is complete and conforms to the requirements of the city code. I've also been asked to convey that we do hope and expect the HLC will act tonight to protect the code that, or to act in accordance with the code that protects the Bushes Pasture Park Residential Historic District. Though we do find that our foundation for appeal in the event of an approval has seldom been stronger. Thank you so much for your time, and I apologize for the unclarity. Some things changed, of course, in these presentations since I wrote these notes. I'm available to answer questions.
Any questions?
Thank you all. I have to leave, so I appreciate you.
I see your name is on the sign-up sheet, but you're just here.
It was just that, yeah.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else here who would like to testify? I just need the applicant in the room, so Kimberly wants to say something.
Sorry, and at the appropriate time, I do want to address the comments.
Yes, I was gonna say, yeah. Then I think, would the applicant like to speak in opposition to any of the things that the neighborhood association has said? Rebuttal. Okay, great, then we'll move on to staff. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Okay, so if you have it in your packets, and want to follow along, the supplemental staff report for the meeting of May 21st is what I'm gonna speak to. So on page 2, which is, it begins with a response to the Stanton Historic Preservation Parks and Gardens Committee stating that the land use notice was insufficient.
Not sure that we have that attachment.
Okay, I will read it to you, and I'll just read it to you so everyone can hear.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'm really gonna, we addressed the insufficient notice issue with re-noticing and reposting. So I'm gonna read the whole response. So the issue that was brought up was the one that Evan just shared. Salem Revised Code 230.065 does not apply to the proposal, and SRC 230.025 specifically prohibits the addition of a deck to the primary facade of a contributing house in the historic district, because they state that the guidelines do not apply because the proposed work does not involve preservation, restoration, or rehabilitation activity. And instead, the standards in Salem Revised Code 230.025 must apply. And when the standards are applied to this proposal, it is clear that the proposed work is prohibited. So that's a version of what was in the original letter that they sent back in May.
And 025 is the like portions.
The standards.
Section of standards.
Correct, the standards, right. And so just for clarification, our code, the way that it's written, it allows the applicant to choose to apply the standards or the guidelines under these definitions.
And
So-
usually the standards is at like a lower level, like staff would approve
Correct,
the standards.
and it's more clear and objective.
Yes, and guidelines come up to the
Landmarks Commission.
commission, yeah.
Correct. So then I'm just gonna read the response and we can discuss if you have additional questions. So Salem Revised Code 230.065 states that states that in lieu of the standards for historic contributing buildings set forth in Salem Revised Code 230.025 through 230.040, an applicant may make a proposal for preservation, restoration, or rehabilitation activity regardless of the type of work, which shall conform to the guidelines. And while Ms. Shute and the scanned Historic Preservation Parks and Garden Committee are correct in that the proposed work is not a preservation or restoration activity, the proposed work does meet the definition of rehabilitation as defined in Salem Revised Code, Chapter 230. And I just want to clarify that I believe, and I think they're not here, but I believe that they are pulling the definition of rehabilitation from the National Park Service and Secretary of the Interior Standards, which I think several of the members in their group are more familiar with. And yet that does not apply here. So I'm gonna go through and explain why. Salem Revised Code 230.005 definitions states that rehabilitation means the process of making possible a compatible use for a historic contributing resource or individually listed resource through repair, alterations, and additions while preserving those portions or features which convey its historical, cultural, and architectural values. That's the definition in our code.
So kind of any sort of work as long as it retains distinctive features.
Correct. Character.
Perfect.
So the applicant's proposal to expand the existing porch is a rehabilitation under this definition, and therefore they are free to demonstrate that their proposal conforms to the guidelines within Salem Revised Code 230.065. And it's still the applicant's burden to demonstrate that the proposed alterations are necessary for the reasonable continued use of their property and further demonstrate that their proposal conforms to the guidelines, which include ensuring the character defining features of the contributing resource continue to be. So that's what it.
Are there questions for staff about the application?
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So as I understood, when the place got raised, and at some point, these two little decks are put on, right?
2004.
Yeah, is the picture that we have.
Yeah.
And they're dry rotted, they're not safe, but they're good, it's your safe, right? And that heard you say dry rot, it's on here, either way. if the applicant were to just say, hey, look, I just let these go into disrepair, or rather, the elements that caused them to need to be replaced. Would all of this same hullabaloo had to have happened if it was the exact same footprint, or is this only coming into play because it's being enlarged?
That's a good question. So historic design review would still be required if they wanted to just do an in-kind replacement because it's on the front facade and it's an eligible contributing resource in the district. And the applicant would have the same choice whether to use the standards or the guidelines. Oftentimes the guidelines are more flexible, but the standards would apply if the applicant would do an in-kind replacement using like for like same design. Because it was approved back in 2004. It would only be required to be a what we call class 3 if they were changing the design or the materials.
And in that like for like, is that talking verbatim same footprint, or is there any sort of
Same
allowance?
footprint.
Like, oh, they don't make that piece. Oh, we have to do it. There's no like percentage, like there.
No, it's
foot
in
precedent,
kind,
okay.
yeah, we have a table in Salem Revised Code 230, which basically we define in kind, which is same, like for like, same.
And you said so many numbers that I
You haven't memorized them.
I didn't memorize. Wow, yeah. Just gavel for a reason. Would the same disagreement of applicable numbers come into play if it was just the same footprint? Or is the fact that it's being enlarged is what triggered we think it should be this way versus that way? And I know you can't speak with neighborhood association, but is that the argument, or is that the wall that they're raising?
Well, let me just talk this out. Okay, because of the way the process works. If the applicant had chosen to just do an in-kind replacement because it's in poor condition. And it would be a class 2 historic design review. And if staff did approve it as. Because it meets the criteria, the neighborhood association would still be able to appeal it to the Landmarks Commission. If they still believe that just the existence of the front porches were not compatible. So there's still a path where they could appeal it. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it kind of does. I guess I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, but I'm just trying to ascertain if the real issue is we just don't want a porch there at all, kind of thing. Since
It might
wasn't
be,
there.
yeah, it
And
wasn't there,
yes,
just,
right.
yeah, I can't speak for them, I don't know, but
I'm just wondering.
that is a path that, yeah, and I don't know for sure. Interestingly enough, I started as a consultant for the city the year after that in 2005, so I'm not sure what the feelings of the commission were at the time, other than we have the records. And, there were issues relating to the livability at that time as well. And the commission, as I understand it from reading the records, that they did put constraints on the owners at that time in terms of scale, that they raised the structure. They had the French doors, which originally I imagine would have opened onto the front lawn. And then they raised it up and then it went to nowhere. And so they wanted I think a larger front porch area, but then the commission at that time was concerned about scale. And so they allowed it, but they allowed it in the form that you're seeing now that isn't really usable for the owner. So here we are.
Oh, yeah, and we do have the decision back from 2005, was it 2004?
2004.
And it looks like it was approved with the condition that they would minimize impact to the historic house by designing something that was.
Yeah, and back then it was
Yeah.
interesting, they let, I don't know.
Yeah, and in my understanding, this is a good application of the guidelines as opposed to the standards, because when there's more discretion required in a decision, it's good to bring it to a board of professionals, right? So that's like why the commission exists, is that we have weird situations that require more discretion. It's a board of professionals and not. I think this is a good, in my understanding of this is a good application of the guidelines as opposed to the standards, because we're dealing with a really weird situation of this house being raised. And I think that's exactly when we need a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more discretion to be able to make a decision about it. So I think this is a good application of the guidelines. I think it meets it based on the definitions as well.
You know, you bring a good point about it being raised. I mean, someone could be upset about the fact that there's stairs that weren't there, that are in your house, you know, so, yeah, it's not. Getting rid of any of the stuff that's there, it's just, yeah.
But I know that there are many National Register listed sites and properties that have been raised because of flooding and in order to provide flood proofing. And there's a whole, there's some really beautiful documents showing how these historic properties are treated sensitively, but raised up out of the floodway. So this happens to be one of those houses that has, I mean, it really has had to be lifted or raised in order to be out of the floodway.
And Jake did present some of that documentation to us for the first, so it's in the record. We kind of have that, we are able to consider that since it's been. So I think that's important to bring up as well. Are there more questions for staff? I think we're kind of approaching closing the public hearing and starting our discussion to make a decision, but I want to make sure that everyone has all the information they need in order to.
I would like to reiterate that the character defining elements of this property are the angle bay sunroom entrance. And we didn't discuss it, but the jerkin head clipped gable roof form and the double French doors on the front elevation. Those are all prominent character defining features of this house. And it does have a relatively high pitched roof instead of a, you know, low pitched craftsman. Some craftsmen have a lower pitched roof. So this proposal doesn't affect any of those character defining elements.
Okay, any other questions for staff or the applicant? This is your last chance. No new information after this. Okay, great. I'm gonna close the public hearing. I will now close the public hearing. No additional testimony will be accepted at this time without formally reopening the hearing. I will now call for us to discuss.
Discuss
Staff
staff recommendation.
Okay. Okay, great. We've got a motion from Cornetti. I can remember your last name. Just like Commissioner Cornetti, and then a second from Commissioner Kurdeman to move the staff recommendation. Please discuss.
I appreciate the effort to make a redesign. I think that the revisions reflect the architecture well.
Which I think is related to criteria up here about the design. Okay.
Yeah, I think the redesign is awesome, and I think it kind of meets a lot of the concerns, and didn't really note this, but actually, so currently the steps going up to it looks like they're blocked, and the AI version of this shows the steps are more open, and that kind of opens it up a little bit more to show the distinction between the raised bit and the original bit, which yeah, I think that kind of highlights it even better, so. Yeah, I think it's a great redesign and it's a good example of taking some concerns and considerations from your neighbors and applying them. Having still a really nice product.
I found the discussion of the Secretary of Interior standards versus our guidelines an interesting element, and having worked with the Secretary of Interior standards for many years, you know, I don't interpret them to say that you can never alter through rehabilitation a primary elevation, or, you know, the primary facade, because there are, if you do a flood raising, you have altered. If you change the roof material, you have altered an historic resource. And a lot of times people don't realize that when you look at a house, that the roof is actually almost half of what you are seeing. So, you know, by altering the roof material or color or type, you've made a major alteration. So, you know, I think it's almost an academic discussion, and in this case, I think it is this proposal is a reasonable rehabilitation. And I would like to encourage the applicant to implement the landscape plan that's shown in the final elevation, because I think it very well blends this project back into the neighborhood.
You know, I want to piggyback on that. I think with our oldest photo here, there's quite a bit of shrubbery in front of it. So that's a wonderful point to make, that though that necessarily is the issue at hand, it's a great cherry on top of the request, is that it would in some ways bring it more like it was.
Is that something that we want to include as a condition to include landscaping?
It's I think it would bring it's but you know, I mean, truly, as much as I hate to say that, like we said, once you raise it, now there's all this concrete with this foundation, and it's there for, you know, obviously safety and keep a line there and not look away, but yeah, it'd be great to obscure that with that landscaping.
Do we, yeah, I guess the question is really, do we think landscaping would help the applicant better meet one of the criteria? Like maybe additions and alterations, like if we added, I'm looking at criteria F, if we added condition for landscaping, like would that help minimize the look of the change? I think we could probably have that discussion. I think I feel kind of neutrally about that. I could support it. But I do know that sometimes the application of landscaping can be difficult to enforce. So that's, I think, another question. I think it's worth having a discussion.
And I think it was real, the exhibit was shown to us as an effort to show the intent of the whole design, and I think our encouragement to actually do that is great, but as you mentioned, the plant style, some rhododendrons can be very long-lived, and next property owner may hate rhododendrons. I mean, it's and I've seen people cut down, rhododendrons with giant trunks, just because they don't like rhododendrons. So I don't know that making it a condition is necessary, but I think just encouragement. It was a very nice red area. I liked it.
I agree, encouragement is the right word, and I think that's more related to the past decision to raise rather than the current issue at hand.
Because it was left sort of bald for the last project.
Yeah, I feel like that's out of scope, honestly, but also find it strange that staff conditions painted the same color.
I think it's good to have, to make sure that the new porch is gonna blend in with the old piece as much as possible. I think it just makes sense to paint things usually, but as long as we have the requirement in there, then it like blends in visually more
Sure.
instead of being an opposing color.
But I mean, that's as subjective as plants, the next owner doesn't want a rhododendron, so it's like, I would like them to be two colors on this. Would they be in trouble that they painted their house two colors at that time?
I think it was also addressing a concern that was submitted. in The application that it would get painted, because it was just saying it became later. And then the concern is that when it's later, it needs to actually focus concern by keeping it, adding a condition that it gets painted. And it closes that.
And the condition is that it will be painted to match, so if you wanted to paint a different color, you could, it just has to match. Like if you wanted to repaint the whole thing red, you could, it just all has to.
Sure. But is there a code that says exactly the same?
This porch will have to be on the same.
Well, that's the recommended condition, I mean, is that one of those special groups that you have memorized?
No, no, I think Jessica's point is right, that it's just making sure that we're blending the new porch in with the old existing as much as possible. And trying to I guess meet a concern from the neighborhood association.
Yeah, but then my point is, they sell the house in the area, neighborhood association just is bummed because the next person decides to paint a different color. Is there any recourse? Because then it sort of goes into a bit of an overreach that we're forcing it to be done this time. If it's something that's codable and needs to always be that way, then it makes sense that we would say it. But if it's just because it's to make somebody else happy, I mean, that's a bit more subjective than that. Is the one I'm actually asking, I don't really.
It's also maintenance,
Well, sure, yeah, in general, but the fact that the colors need to, I guess. Yeah, no, I don't disagree that making wood is less likely to stick around.
I know what you're getting at though, like, is this really enforceable? If in theory, if we had a condition and the applicant came back and said, I don't want to do that. What do we have to turn around and say, well, actually, you need to because of this code or something, but maybe that's it though, is like, because we made it condition makes it required.
And I want to talk about criterion G in particular. So these two conditions have been recommended to better meet criterion G. And so I think that's what we really need to be discussing. Like, do we think the application of paint makes it so that alterations and additions are constructed so that significant features are not obscured, damaged, or destroyed? And I think in my mind, the paint matching does help that everything behind it is not going to be obscured by something that's a different color. So I do think that this criteria is helping the applicant meet this this criteria better. And I think this condition 2 is a little even more clear in that, is that it needs to match and kind of blend in.
I'd like to point out that if I'm remembering correctly, applicant was confused by that condition because the intent was always to paint in the first place, so. Color may or may not be an issue, but it was always intended to paint, and it sounds like.
And we're not dictating the color, we're just dictating that it needs, the hall needs to be the same colors.
So I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah, but it's like the word, I guess. Yeah, we say paint it, cool.
I think,
But yeah, if they're gonna do it anyway, it feels like we're asking them.
I understand what you mean, but I think I'm in support of the condition just to make sure that we're like addressing the concerns of the neighborhood association and also helping the applicant better meet this criteria G. I feel like that is fine with me. I'm supportive of the condition.
I felt like the neighborhood association was very upset about some difference of numbers being applied to get here, and so they have this concern with not any one of these numbers. I was curious why they wanted to have more key to it.
Yeah. And the applicant did indicate to us the first time we met that they were fine with the condition, so that is a thing to consider. I think for me, this really comes down to criterion F and G, because I think what this really comes down to is, does this porch addition is it compatible with the rest of the house? Is this design element something that's going to like fit in with this bungalow style with kind of the funny little sun perch at the front? And I think that it does. I think that we're kind of dealing with a weird situation in which, if we were looking at this house 70 years ago, those two doors would probably like lead out to like maybe a patio that's like flat on the ground if they are actually doors, right? And because it was raised in order to keep it around, which is something that we like to do in historic preservation and keeps it eligible. Then I think you kind of just have to deal with the logistics of the intent is for that to kind of open up into a patio area, and having a deck sort of mimics that use, it mimics that type of space. And I think especially with the design changes that the applicant has made, they are meeting these criteria of doing an addition that minimizes changes to the historic house while also like makes it usable for them. And they're also not damaging any significant features. In fact, they are using that design to kind of echo some of those significant features, like with the roof line of the portico at the front there. So I think that especially with the changes, I am in support of the motion. I'm in support of this project, and I do appreciate the applicant spending a little extra time taking a close look at it. I know it's kind of a long process, so it's always nice when you're able to do that, and I appreciate it. Any more comments? Do you want to talk more about the paint condition?
No,
You feeling good?
I was just curious if there was and I felt like someone in my peripheral had raised their hand. If there was a thing where paint colors dictated,
No, no paint color dictation.
then that's why I thought it was odd that it said match. Because that was something.
Any color, and they can paint it,
Yeah.
that would be the same color. Okay, are we ready to move on to a vote? Is there anything else that anybody would like to kind of put on the record as part of this discussion? I guess maybe just for deliberation's sake, we all agree that the guidelines are the appropriate review mechanism for this, just as a commission. I do think that it is, so I want to be really clear with the neighborhood association that like the guidelines are being appropriately used here, and we're supportive of staff deciding to apply that, and the applicant of choosing that as well. So just want to be really clear about that. Okay.
No, I don't want to say anything.
Okay. You look like you're gonna say something. I just want to make sure everybody has a chance. Okay, great. All right, well then I think we do have a motion on the table to move the staff recommendation. Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor of staff recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it was all yays, so the motion passes. Approved. Okay, great. I mean, we really appreciate it. Thanks for all your extra work on that. We're looking forward to the rhododendron.
Yeah, you just. Jessica, do you have a flash drive?
Okay, great.
Come on down.
We got a training from our archaeologist Jessica on the agenda.
You got to like laugh at me about you. Sure. I'll help.
Plug it into the microphone.
Plugging it into the microphone. See, this is what it sounds. Laugh at me. Okay, can you see, you can drive. I'm gonna let you drive now.
So Kimberly asked me to do a training on archaeology, which, I mean, I did college for 10 years, but sure, I can do a 15-minute training. So let's see, we are still on Zoom, right?
I think you have to share your presentation. Yeah. See? Now I will always know. Only done 6 years since COVID. Right?
I did snag the logo, stuck it in there. Huh, I'll say that again. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so this training is very top level, but I tried to really focus it on things that this commission would maybe, I don't want to say care about, because of course you should care about everything, but things that would pertain to like what we do here and kind of what happens in my brain when we're going through some of these things, some of these cases, and the maybe hopefully justify the reason that we should have an archaeologist in some way on the commission. Shameless plug. All right. So archaeology, and feel free to stop me anytime to ask questions or anything. So yeah, all right. So archaeology, the scientific study of past human life and culture, not dinosaurs, not fossils, not aliens. It's human life and culture. All right. So I'm just going to start off with like defining archaeology and what it is, and then going into the weeds a little bit more. So in a broader sense, Oregon archaeology, it's about 20,000 plus years of history, of human history. I'd say much longer than that, but as far as an archaeologist and the record, that's what it shows. If you talk to indigenous populations, it's much, much longer than that. So, and it's the history of all people, not just indigenous history, not just settler history, it's everybody. And we are studying how people interacted with each other and their environment. And archaeology is going to be looking at the stuff left behind as a result of those interactions. And I say that because if you think about, especially in the Northwest, what preserves over time, it's not capturing the full breadth of everything that was going on. Stuff gets destroyed, stuff rots away, stuff doesn't preserve. And so in archaeology, we have a lot of holes that we have to try to fill in. I know, I didn't mean to do that one, it was good. Try to fill in the gaps. So what we see, we have to go in knowing that this is only a portion of whatever was going on here, but it's what we have. So there's kind of archaeology tends to get divided into two types, pre and post contact archaeology. Contact refers to the era when indigenous populations were influenced by European, those from European ancestry. In influencing, we're talking about like through culture, through physical influence, through items. And it's a period of time that we're seeing a big shift in culture. And this contact period is region dependent. So our contact period for Oregon, for example, is very, very different for the contact period in New York, for example. So we have pre-contact, which is further divided amongst the tribes. So pre-contact, before European ancestry settlers came in. There's also some divisions between that pre-contact period. That's kind of independently defined by tribes. However, as far as archaeology goes, that's just the division that's made. And then post-contact is often referred to as the historic archaeology. So here I have some examples of pre and post-contact, but also kind of that influencing culture. Over in the corner down here, this is actually green bottle glass that had been napped into a point. So here we're seeing a material type that is not native to the area, that was brought in by settlers. However, a cultural practice is being used with this new item. And we call that like the contact period, where we're seeing the two cultures kind of blending. In addition, we have glass beads, same sort of concept. But then we have things that we don't see in today's society as the Europeans coming over. This was not a practice that they brought over, nor one that they really adopted and stuck with, and that's with Dentillium, which is part of currency. Today we see it used a lot in clothing. And then the post-contact, the historic archaeology, this is the stuff that we typically find majority of the time, and that's, you know, grandma's broken dishware and square cut nails, uranium glass, that sort of thing. Then I divided archaeology into academic centered and development related. And I actually snagged this from our website. So, so there's kind of two types of archaeology that get done majority of the time. It's the academic side and then the development side. So the academic side, it's where you're taking research questions and you're going out and studying a location with a particular goal in mind as far as, you know, what are you trying to figure out? This is usually done with lots of partners because there's not a ton of funding backed behind some of these things. So you need a lot of support and a lot of expertise that goes into it. So universities, tribes, nonprofits like the Oregon Archaeological Society. This would be what Kimberly is currently working on right now with the City of Salem's public archaeology and the excavations that are going on at Willamette University right now. So that is an academic centered one. Then on the other side, we have the development related, and these are construction projects. So these are project driven studies. So they're a fast timeline. You have to identify and try to avoid archaeological resources. And this is going to be, the partners are going to look kind of similar, but this is going to be more about developers, planners, and you're going to be having a lot of federal and state agencies involved. And of course, tribes as well. This is my boring slide. The federal and state laws. So federal laws apply when there's a federal nexus. So when cases come to us, the federal nexus that I'm thinking of in my brain is going to be, is there like a permit needed by the federal government? Is there any federal money coming in the form of grants or other types of funding? Or is it located on federal land? We don't usually deal with that last bit, but that's when you have federal laws being applied. State laws is pretty much when there's no federal nexus, but the law is triggered. So we have state laws that protect cultural resources and archaeological resources on state and private land. And those laws and interpretations and guidelines go through our State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO. So if you hear that, yeah, Robert works at SHPO. We also, the state of Oregon also has legislative commission on Indian services. This is kind of a unique thing for the state, but this is a body of government ran by it's a federally mandated state agency where they advocate and take in concerns from the tribes at a state level. So on a federal level, there's things protecting tribes' interests and also bringing tribes into conversations for multiple different aspects of environmental protections. The LCIS is that, but at our state level. And not every state has that. So archaeologists, we go to LCIS so that to be informed on which tribes we should be contacting for certain projects, who we should be contacting. And it's also a good place to go to if we have really complicated questions regarding how do we handle this resource that's very sensitive to tribes, or the tribes can go to LCIS and do the same thing. How do we project this, this sensitive or this concern we have to other agencies at their level so it's better understood? Yeah.
Can I share something about that?
Yeah, please.
So just this month, so LCIS has a work group, and I'm going to try to get the name right, a cultural resources cluster work group. And they've created a new seat for a local jurisdiction representative, which I've just been invited to fill.
Nice.
So they're just gonna have one seat for a local jurisdiction around the state, and this is to help coordinate compliance with the new Goal 5 cultural rules.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so LCIS hosts this culture cluster where it brings state agencies and tribes together to discuss certain topics and certain things, and also help both sides understand certain rules and regulations, and then also kind of pivots and like, do we need to change anything? Like, what are the routes we should go in? So it's a really, really awesome I don't know, legislative body.
Mhm.
So, and then I put some of the little laws on the side if you want to really look them up. However, the one that I think you guys will probably hear or have heard the most is going to be Section 106. And Section 106 is what in my brain is thinking for the federal nexus. If we have a project come in and there is a federal nexus, then I'm thinking, okay, there has to be a full Section 106 clearance and process that's being done.
That was the cemetery one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yep. So what is Section 106? So we need to understand that. I'm just kidding. So Section 106 of it's the National Historic Preservation Act. It's one section of this giant act. There's also other sections that archaeologists tend not to work with, but tribes will often work with. And therefore, I think it's beneficial for cultural resource staff to understand some of those other sections. I'm not going to go into them here. Right now, it's just Section 106. So Section 106 is the process that requires projects with a federal nexus to consider the effects of their undertaking, their undertaking could have on historical, archaeological, and cultural resources. All of those are referred to as historic properties, which really confuse archaeologists. So what is your project going to do to archaeological resources? That's what Section 106 is saying. Like, you got to figure that out. You got to do your due diligence to see what your undertaking could be doing to this non-renewable resource. And here's how you do it. Clear as mud. So you have a start of a project. Is there federal funding? Yes, no. Okay, yes, start the 106 process, which includes like who are you going to involve for consultation, which tribes, which agencies, and then you go into identifying your historic properties or archaeological resources. This could be through survey, through testing, lots of background research, all of that. Consulting with tribes is huge because they may know of things that you don't know. And then if you find something, are you able to avoid it? Can your project just ignore it and like leave it alone? Or do we need to make sure that whatever we are doing to impact it, is it going to destroy that resource or tamper it in a way that makes it no longer as significant of a resource as it once is, or it is as found? So is it eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places? If yes, then you figure out how are you impacting it, and then you figure out mitigation measures if you are impacting it in a negative way. If it's not eligible and you do your due diligence to say, yes, this is a not eligible, non-contributing resource, then your process, your due diligence is complete and the project can move on.
So Jessica, sorry, before you move on from that.
Yeah.
I think I'm referring back to the cemetery. When was that? Like 3 or 4 months ago? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so for those of you, some of you are already super familiar with 106, but I think that one, I hope, I don't know, they'll come back to the Landmarks Commission. Maybe.
I mean, we're an official consulting.
We are.
Yeah.
I say maybe because I honestly don't know what's happening at the federal.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say if they follow the process, right, they will come back. They've already acknowledged an adverse effect, right? Where is it in the bubble?
So,
They come back and they're gonna give a plan for mitigation
right,
that we get to weigh in on.
so they've analyzed effects. Are there any adverse? They're saying yes.
They already
So-
said yes.
So now this is where they're at, is resolving the effects.
So here's my question for you, Jessica. I don't know if you read the whole thing, but I feel like, and if help me if I get any of this wrong. They were proposing to demolish a really important, significant
Right.
historic structure. And it didn't seem to me like they had really looked at alternatives.
Right.
So I
No.
guess, and maybe this is beyond the scope of what you're gonna talk about, but through this process, let's say they come back to us. Can we ask them to consider alternatives that, like, say they don't, so they won't tear it down?
Yeah, we can ask them to provide information on the alternatives that they considered. And if we see,
For them that they did.
they didn't.
Yeah.
At that point, they had not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
okay.
so, and if the do not tear it down, the do nothing, whatever scenario for that particular action is not in there, then we can say your due diligence has not been met.
Right.
We can, that can be like our,
And I don't even
Statement.
remember that they really did much archaeology either, but
yeah, I don't,
yeah,
I was so focused on the building.
yeah, I think that the archaeology is a whole other thing which needs to
Yeah.
be addressed, but yeah.
Usually, I don't know how it works with other agencies, like this is how it works at ODOT, but we would resolve these like we would document what we were gonna do to mitigate, avoid, whatever, in a memorandum of agreement that would be signed with SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, and whatever the agency is.
Yeah.
And so ideally, in a process that is working well, SHPO would be like, what do the consulting parties want? So
Yeah.
if we're unhappy and we voice that to SHPO, like as a consulting party, then they would hopefully be like, you need to go talk to the consulting parties again until you figure this
Okay.
out.
Yes, I mean, we can still do that process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, and that process that you're talking about, with ODOT, we can do that because of our federal nexus.
Yeah.
In those projects, so.
We usually work with the Federal Highway Administration
Yeah.
instead of, what is it, the veteran,
Mhm.
veterans area, so different.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I did not get into that deep in the weeds, so.
Well, this is something that's applicable, I think, to our.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And it's
When,
a complex process,
Yeah, question, there's not a historic commission for Marion County, is there?
which is why it came to us.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
does any county in Oregon have,
Lynn County,
Commission?
Benton County, several counties have
Oh, they
historic.
do.
Hamilton County used to, but then they were a CLG, but then they like just
oh,
decertified as a CLG.
Oh.
Sorry, I don't know why I knew that. Well, because my first job was working for Hamilton County, that we don't need to go into that.
yeah. So like I said, doing this presentation, I wasn't sure how deep in the weeds we wanted to get, but as an overview, what an archaeology site is defined as two or more artifacts or one feature. So a feature is like this fire pit here. It's a staining in the soil. It's not exactly something you can like put in a bag and label. This is also a fish weir. So again, a feature. This is a shell midden, which is also considered a feature. You can also have the items within the feature be part of the feature. So the context. And then two or more artifacts. So two pieces of broken obsidian, that could be a site. I really want to get into it. 2 square head nails, boom, archaeology site. A can and a bottle, boom, archaeology site. So it can get pretty daunting at times. Right here's just an old can dump. We see these on the side of the highways all the time. Archaeology site. Now, does that mean we need to do anything and everything in our power to protect this particular site? No, we just have to do a little more investigation to make sure that what we have learned from that site is pretty much everything we're going to learn about that site. And if it is, then probably not much effort need to be made to protect it.
And if I can jump in, so to be similar to like the above ground stuff, because I started in above ground land and now I'm going down to below ground land. That a lot of the way you think about it is can be applied to archaeology too.
Yeah.
So, like we have eligible contributing and non-contributing, it can still be
Yep.
old, right? And meet the criteria for a site, but not be the equivalent of contributing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I like learning new words. So you said two, I don't know. What's a fish weir?
Fish weir is, these are little sticks in the ground. And you would, this is probably a result of multiple generations of folks coming in and making a weir onto the weir. But you put these sticks down and then you can weave in like a mat or material or grass, or just have a thick amount of debris. And essentially you do it so that when the fish come in, they get trapped and they can't really get out. And then you can just be on your weir and fish. So
And the other thing was a shell. What's the word?
shell midden. A midden is just a fancy word for pile.
You're gonna
Yeah.
incorporate that into your
Yeah.
conversation
I
tomorrow.
think Kimberly's favorite is crotavina.
Oh, we found one today.
Oh, great.
I used that word like 4 times.
Crotavina is a fancy word for a rodent burrow.
Yeah.
So when this thing, yeah. So does anyone know what this is?
It's a chrysanthus.
You know what?
It's a sand,
Yeah.
it's a sandworm.
Well, when I put this in here, I'm like, this is kind of misleading because there's no scale, and it definitely is not the size of this fish weir. But this is an old, most likely water pipe. This is actually dug up in McMinnville or Wilsonville.
What I have one in my lab right now. You guys, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, so
I'm not even
so
kidding.
They were old.
I
They're usually called like stall
Make a
pipes, but
museum.
they're made out of wood, and then they have wire wrapped around them so the wood can conform and stay. And then that's how cities did their water for the longest
We
time.
had them in Salem. That's why I have one.
Yep. And a lot of times they're just, when they're abandoned, they just are left in there. I see these on mining sites as well, like gold, silver mining sites. Usually all you have left are just the wire.
Mhm.
So you'll find like a ditch and then just like this wire that goes forever. You're like, what is this? Like, well, there used to be a pipe.
Now you have a midden of wire.
When I
Yeah,
first saw
exactly.
one, it was at Gear Park. And I thought it was a telephone pole, but then it was like, it looked, and I'm like, that's not a telephone pole.
I could see that.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So. When an archaeology site needs to be impacted, when it's going to be impacted. So this is kind of getting back to the cemetery. I know. So you do your investigation, you find that there's an eligible site or a contributing site. And you're going to have an adverse effect. You're going to negatively impact the site. Then you go to mitigation. And these are just some examples of mitigation. This is actually this graph I took directly from a site that I'm currently working through the mitigation for. And these are the things that we're doing for the mitigation. We have consultant parties, we coordinate with the consulting parties. We did data recovery, which is like the full big blown archaeology excavation, public outreach, academic outreach. We did another round of data recovery, oral histories. We're going to be monitoring during construction, and then and hopefully contribute the data towards a multiple property nomination. In the past for Salem, we've done some of these things. This is an interpretive panel that's somewhere, it was for this
It's
building.
really close to, well, it's on the north
It's on
side
the-
of this site.
Yeah, so when this building was
for
being
this thing.
constructed.
Yeah, you did.
Yep,
And that's right over there. Yeah.
so the interpretive
Where are we?
the interpretive panel here and then these wraps were created as part of the mitigation effort for the sites that the construction of this building was impacting. This building and the
Which are
parking
right
lot.
here.
Yeah.
We're on a site.
We're on a site, couple sites.
This like controversy one is about the old like mill race that they made.
Yeah,
And it was like, it was open and people and pets kept drowning in it and no one
one
would
wanted
take
to
the,
pay
like,
for
yeah, no one would
recovery.
take responsibility because it wasn't built by the city, but everybody's like.
It was right on Division, right?
Mm.
And went around onto front. Isn't that crazy?
yeah, and so we don't know what all happened to that mill because nobody wanted to touch it. Some areas they just like maybe have like put something over it and like close it off. Some people like historically, a lot of cavities get filled by garbage, which excites and also frustrates archaeologists because then you get a little snapshot, a time capsule, but then you're also just rummaging through a garbage pile. You're like, what is this? I can't tell, and all you have is your brush.
Broken dishes.
Yeah, broken dishes.
Fresh burpees.
We found a privy, probably like right around here.
Yeah,
Like, was it right over here?
Yeah.
Over there?
fancy word for bathroom.
Oh,
You're privy to privy, all right. And then I threw this picture in, which is just a small piece of what excavation can produce, which is
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of work.
Uh-huh.
But they say for like every hour of excavation is usually like 3 days of lab work. So,
Come on over to Public Archaeology Day.
Yeah.
Saturday.
so, yeah, so data recovery is extremely expensive. Not just for the people power, but also the cataloging, the inventorying, and all the lab work afterwards, and then curation costs. Because all of this stuff it doesn't go to a museum, it gets put in a box on a shelf for future research. And you have to pay for that. So thankfully, there's not like a space fee. Usually it's a one-time fee, but it's a hefty fee. So
I feel like they're running out of space.
yeah, yeah.
That's a whole nother.
It's like cemeteries, you just run out of space. eventually.
Yeah.
Another thing that Kimberly, pretty much on any project that's in a high probability area, based on the map that folks can look at for the city of Salem, requires an inadvertent discovery plan. And this is a chart that's in the plan, but it essentially just tells you what do you do when you find something during construction. And this happens a lot. Some of it's huge, some of it's not, but either way, it just needs to be addressed. It is against state and federal law to ignore it and continue your work without addressing it. That is knowingly impacting an archaeology site, and that is yeah, it's a Class C felony in the state of Oregon, but don't do it.
We just had one yesterday. City Public Works were doing some work in the right of way and came across a portion of the track from, okay, the one that went out, it used to be called Asylum Road, you know, the tracks that went along, yeah,
Trolley tracks or?
probably track.
One day we'll have a trolley.
I know.
Um,
Happens all the time.
I also wanted to really point out the tribes. So I've been talking a lot about archaeology and do's and don'ts and laws and everything, but all throughout this, tribes are involved, whether it's pre-contact, post-contact, contact period, it doesn't matter because tribes and tribal people and tribal culture didn't only exist in the past. It's not like it was in the past and now they're here again. They've always been here. So even historic resources are going to have some importance to tribal members and to tribal government as well. So we consult on every project with tribes. Now tribes are sovereign nations, which means they possess nationhood status and retain the power to self-govern. So we treat tribes like almost like individual countries. Don't assume. It's not a blanketed email that goes out to them saying, hey, we're going to check mark this box by letting you know we're doing this. It's a conversation. There's also relationship building, trust building. A lot goes into our tribal partners and maintaining positive workplaces. And then also we're all advocates for the resource, right? So we're all advocating for archaeological resources, which are non-renewable. And so we consult with tribes early and often. There's different levels of consultation that we do.
For my work, I do what's called Little C consultation, which is like I talk to cultural staff at the tribe. Now, if there's a project that gets elevated enough that tribal council or chiefs or however their tribe is structured, they want to talk to somebody about the project, they don't talk to me. That would be like the president of a country coming to talk to me. It would be president talks to the president. So it would be tribal council talks to wherever I'm working, the director or, the head person for the agency that I'm with. That's who big C consultation is. Everyday things, it's at the staff level. Also, I want to point out too that tribal members are not always representing tribal government. And that's something to really keep in mind when you're working on projects is if someone comes in and says, hey, I'm a tribal member, you need to listen to what I'm saying. They need to have the representation from their government as well. And also tribal government representatives are not always tribal members. I used to work for a tribe. I'm not a tribal member though, but I was representing the tribal government based on my position and what I was allocated there to do. So I put in some modern pictures of the main 3 tribes that are consulted with in this area. There's 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon. There's multiple other tribes that are not federally recognized that we can consult with as well. Here is some the canoes that are in for the winter at the Grand Ronde T'Challa Museum. This is a Warm Springs elder where she is collecting bulbs. And that's what typically is called like a camas digger. It's a long stick. It has like a little bevel at the end and a handle at top. This is a practice that still goes on today. And then this is a Siletz tribal member artist who is been weaving and beading and is practicing. And she is also continuing that tradition on to the youth, which is the important part of transferring culture, right? Is you need to teach your youth about it, otherwise it's gone. I mentioned before, we also talk to tribes because each tribe has their own knowledge and their own information and also interpretations of information and data. And because they are a sovereign nation, they are not required to share their resources with the state. They can if they'd like to. However, the state database of archaeological sites, while it's protected, it's not necessarily where the tribes want to display that information. So we go to tribes and we ask them, hey, here's our project area. Is there anything of concern in there that you would like to talk about? And sometimes they'll say no, or sometimes they'll say, yeah, actually there is, but we don't feel comfortable discussing it. How about you just come back to us with a plan and then we'll let you know how we feel about it. So, yeah, and I mean, City of Salem has great relationships with the tribes and really positive working relationships. We have the MOUs with
So that's the Big C, that's how we started our program,
Yeah.
Big C consultation, which happened with our mayor and council and the tribal councils for.
So we have a memorandum of understanding between the tribe and the city. Each individual tribe, we have one for each one. And that's just, it's outlining an understanding of how we're going to handle, not necessarily handle, essentially the consultation, process.
And that's what created the roundtable that we have every month. That Jessica goes to along with me, and where we do discuss specific projects, just like you talked about.
Yeah.
But also education things.
Yeah, and it's also part of the relationship building. I mean, every month we get to see digitally face to face the staff and the folks that we work with at the tribe on almost a daily level. So this is my last slide. So just keep in mind, projects require a process of due diligence to minimize risk of impacting archaeological resources. So if due diligence is not met, then the risk of impacting archaeological resources is very, very, very high. And that is not something any contractor wants to go in
knowing. Or having at their, yeah, just having a high risk is not good. Tribes have information that are not in the state's database. Archaeologists do not have superpowers. We cannot see into the ground. We can only dig so deep with our little tools. And then also the big one, archaeology is destructive of a non-renewable resource. The way we find archaeology sites is if an archaeology site is impacted. The only way you find them is to destroy a bit of it, because then they get exposed. And excavation and studying a site is destructive. You are destroying that part of the site. You can never put that site back together exactly how it was left. So that's part of all the schooling and all the training and all this stuff, is because as we take something apart, we have to document as much as we can, learn as much as we can, and then also take samples and everything, because there might be stuff that we don't realize we know until the technology is produced. So I listen to a lot of true crime, but if you think about true crime, like, you know, back in like the 70s, they take DNA swabs, and well, they didn't have DNA testing back then, you know, but now they do it. Oh, good. We have DNA swabs from the 70s. Same sort of thing in archaeology, you know, go back and look at excavations from the 60s. And, oh, they didn't collect any of these items because they figured they weren't important. And now we wish they had, because we want to know that aspect of the site. We run into that all the time. Or they just, you know, the practice of archaeology has not always been kind to artifacts or to tribes. And so that is also something we run into in the past, where we have maybe somebody who was working on the site and they are very possessive of those things that they found. Like, oh, I rediscovered these items, they are mine, they're going home with me. That's not really the practice that we condone. And you can also see why maybe relationships between archaeologists and tribes have been a bit rough in the past. So just understanding all of that moving forward, not only just puts into perspective on maybe why some folks are a little bit more reluctant to share information about their past, also maybe why some contractors or developers are a little reluctant to talk about archaeology, because they've maybe only always heard that, you know, if you find archaeology on your site, forget it, like your project is done, it's over with. So a lot of misinterpretations. And yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, you don't have a whip?
I don't.
She paused. There was a.
Well, I don't,
I meant at work.
but I know how to use it, because when I worked on the coast, my research was on the Oregon coast, the big long kelp, we would practice
Oh, how funny.
using that on the
You have
beach.
one. I do in my, yes, yeah, yes, I do.
Yeah, I also don't have a hat like that, which is okay. So, yeah, no, us archaeologists, we dress more like homeless people, so we've got.
We can blend, yeah,
Yeah,
into the dirt.
I've definitely had, like, especially when I used to do a lot of field work, I'd go into like a grocery store or something to grab a cold drink or something, and been asked like.
You're dirty and smelly.
I'm gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
Said I'm just here to use the privy.
Yeah, I'm just here, I Curtivinaed my way in. So anyways,
Thank
that's
you.
all I have.
So can you explain to me space archaeology?
Yeah,
Because you said it's about the study of humans. so-
right. So space archaeology, now my shirt is from Star Trek show, but space archaeology actually. Sites that have been made like on the moon and Mars. Making them around. Yeah, like, so like preserving that as a site, as an eligible site, and like anything else that's been left behind. Debris from like satellites and other space garbage that have landed on the moon or Mars or anything like that, like preserving that.
Planetary, it's like, what else?
Yeah.
But who's the they?
International.
And that's it, it's like, who's gonna do the archaeology space race, like, who's gonna win that?
Oh, man.
Here for it. Crazy.
The rest of it's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions about archaeology? What's your favorite thing you've ever dug up?
Gosh, I get this question a lot. So there's a couple of differences between the coolest thing to me is not necessarily the coolest thing to other people. Some of the coolest things that I've dug up personally are things that represent I guess things that just kind of challenge your view on what people were doing and how they were doing it. So finding something at a site that's made of a material that you do not expect to see there ever. And figuring out that material type came from like across the continent. And how did this get here, you know? Yeah, and then you think, did someone carry it? Was it traded? You know, so you think about that. Or finding evidence that maybe dogs were domesticated, like thousands and thousands of years before we thought. So things like that, I've been really lucky to work on sites like that. And things like that also don't tend to get published right away because it's very controversial. So you have to do lots and lots of work to make it. Yeah, some people get very protective of their research and they're like, well, what do you mean by site's not the site and state? So you have to hurt feelings. The coolest thing I got to work on, like if I went back in time and told myself as a kid that I would get to work on this, was helping excavate the mastodon at Oregon State University's football stadium.
Big bones.
Big bones.
That's fun.
Yeah, even though it was an archaeology site.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I read that.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I did get to dig up some big bones. It's fun.
Very interesting. Oh, well, thank you.
You know what? I don't know.
No comment. Okay, great. Our next thing is work plan assignments. Do we have anybody who'd like to report on their work plan duties? We had a big month last month. Oh, here we are. Which is Historic Preservation Month, and we will be celebrating that again next week. Don't forget, we've got our awards ceremony. Love to see if
And another window for
Yeah.
at the end of.
I see this. I'm sad because I'm gonna be gone this day and I really wanna go to this. I need to fix my window that the cord broke, so I really wanna go. There you go.
Archaeology day. Yeah, that's this Saturday.
This side? Yeah, and in fact, the grand drawing will have a table, Chris Bailey will be there.
Nice. Good. I will not.
But,
Brother-in-law is getting married.
wow. Cool.
Do you guys have anything to report on?
We have a newsletter. Do you want to talk about it? Just share. Am I jumping ahead? Sorry, I got it. It's so pretty.
Yeah, I read it from the thing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Sorry.
Isn't it pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one went out digitally, but I asked her, I like hard copies of things, so. And for those of you that remember Deb, who's now retired, Deb Meagers, she used to staff well, when I first started in 2005, that's what she did your job, right? And so she likes to write little articles for us, which are great. And also a big shout out to Michelle too for coordinating the production of the photo boards. Don't make a face. You did great. Which are on display now at the Willamette Heritage Center. So not just this year's, all the submissions, but also all the previous years.
Oh,
So
great.
it's pretty cool. So there's if you wander over to Willamette Heritage Center, hopefully they'll be there like maybe next month too. They have a open tenant space, so they are letting us use it there. Well, then,
Nice.
yeah.
Thanks, Michelle.
See, thank you, Michelle.
Is it continue on? Have you or Jake had a chance to read that? Draft. Okay, great.
Sorry.
No, you're cool. That's my only thing I've been working.
Don't worry about it. Yes, when I'm back, yeah. And maybe I work best, like. Schedule a meeting in July. That way. Get a going.
Are we done with first session? Okay, great. Well, then we're still excited. No big deal. Okay, cool. Outreach. Oh, that's this. I was already looking at this.
I don't know. Oh yeah, you have a little flyery thingy in front of you. So yeah, our big month was last month. But. So yeah, I already talked about the display. So the History Moment podcast, so while I'm in the field, I'm not doing it, but KMUZ is still airing them once a week because I've been doing it for a while. You can find it on Spotify.
Yes.
Go.
To them.
Yeah, you're on Spotify,
I'm
you're
on-
NCIS, or
Yeah.
you got?
I think we've been working with Nicole Miller, who's from our communications team. And she's been doing a great job helping us get the word out about things. The one thing I did want to mention, which isn't on here, on Monday at City Council, the mayor's gonna proclaim Virginia Green Day. She's turning 100 years old.
Wow.
I know, and so they're gonna present her with a proclamation and acknowledge her. It's her being a long time president, and as you maybe know or remember that one of our awards is named after. Yeah,
Yeah, she did all those walking tour
Yeah.
websites back in the day.
she's still doing her thing.
Yeah, great. Good for her.
Yeah,
100.
I know, not amazing. And I think other than that, I don't know that. I think we're good to go in the newsletter till fall. How about that? Is that good? Let's just think about what you want to focus on. We could put Kara in charge of that. She's not here. I have a haunted theme. Yeah, and it sounds like already we're doing another workshop so that we can check that box, right? And then in July, we're gonna open our toolbox grant again, so. That's our second thing.
Are we doing any like extra promotion for it?
That's on the list of things we want to do, so we'll probably talk to Nicole about it, how we can even get the word out a little bit more.
Nice to let people know they have access to that. Yeah. Great. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about on outreach? Then we're up to the Historic Preservation Officer report.
So the big thing I have to share is that I know, and I think I messaged you, so I am going to Las Vegas, Caesar's Palace at the end of the month. To be presented with a national award for my work on the Chinese, the Qingming Festival, so it's being presented, I should be precise, it's a humanity award from the United Chinese American Association. So,
Very cool. Congratulations.
And we're all invited.
Caesar Palace, come on down. Yeah.
So our next meeting is gonna be.
So it's funny because, you know, you asked Jessica that question. And that project was my very first public archaeology project in the Pioneer Cemetery. And I remember going to my boss and asking for permission to go excavate in the cemetery. And he was like, what?
Absolutely.
It's like
Yeah.
one little.
Just, it'll be fine. Yeah. But that to me has always been, it's the most meaningful because, well, first of all, we didn't know that we would find it. That's always with archaeology, right?
Yeah, and you don't know.
You don't know. Well, I get it.
And then you have, 8-year-old boy come and find it.
I mean, that's like almost what happened. I remember we were out there, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, who's the
he worked for City View, yeah,
And-
yeah, and he had played there when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. My God.
it's right there.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy.
we still, I remember the morning of, we're like, okay, we're gonna break ground. You could either get a body or. Yeah, we found it, but then the most meaningful thing has been the Qingming Festival.
And the inspiration it's caused other historic cemeteries.
I know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Right.
just like and just to say, the most meaningful thing honestly has been the outreach from the Chinese community and how they have said that that particular landscape, the Pioneer Cemetery used to be a place that brought them pain, just because if you've ever seen it, it was destroyed, like the funerary table was destroyed. Now we have a new table out there and they said now it's a place of healing and connection. So, isn't
I
that
think,
cool?
yeah, too, I just like one kind of personal note on that. I feel like having that physical remnant from the Chinese community is a reminder of why historic preservation is so important. Because if you don't have a physical thing that helps you like remember,
Tangibly
yeah,
connect
like
place.
this is
Yeah.
connected to like a community.
Yeah.
Then like, how would we have like discovered this story about Chinese American history in
I know.
Salem without like that physical artifact to connect it all to? Because there's not really anything
No,
like downtown.
and that's why it's so
Yeah.
important.
So it's just such a good, clear reminder of that. Yeah, I really appreciate that. It's great. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I don't know what I'm.
What?
I don't know what I'm gonna wear.
Oh.
It's gonna be real.
It's Caesar's Palace.
You're like, you go shopping in Vegas.
Yeah, the forum shops. Crystals or-
Out of my comfort zone. Anyway, that's all.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Anything else any of the commissioners would like to bring up? Okay, perfect. Well, then we'll see y'all next month. I will now close the June 18th, 2026 meeting.
Have to go to the Omega Mart.
I don't know what that is.
Oh,
You have to.
Okay.
And then there's
Let's look it
casinos,
up.
there's restaurants and blah, 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 but those are always there, but Omega Mart is.
Is it a market?
it's called Meow Wolf.
Yeah, so that it's by Meow Wolf, I mean, it's,
Or, yeah.
they're the people that make it. It's
Okay.
in a place called Area 15, so that also makes it confusing, but you'll see billboards, you ask, whatever, Omega Mart.
I'm gonna write that down.
It's-